Admiral Chen paced the length of the emergency briefing room, her reflection fragmented across a dozen holographic displays, all showing the same haunting image. New Horizons Central Plaza frozen in mid-catastrophe. The video analysts had enhanced the final frame 17 times, but the blurred figure she desperately hoped was her sister remained frustratingly indistinct. The quantum entanglement array should have maintained connection regardless of conventional jamming, insisted Director Orson, his voice rising with each word. Whatever severed communication simultaneously destroyed all 12 redundant systems. This was not an accident, and it was not a natural phenomenon. Outside the reinforced windows of Terran Confederation headquarters, Denver's evening skyline glittered against the mountain backdrop, oblivious to the crisis unfolding within. 50,000 colonists gone in an instant. Humanity's farthest outpost and most significant achievement transformed into a mystery that threatened to unravel decades of interstellar progress. Admiral, the Council requires your recommendation, prompted General Yamamoto, her weathered face betraying rare concern. The peace faction is already suggesting withdrawal from all frontier systems, while military hardliners demand immediate deployment of the Third Fleet. Chen stopped pacing, her fingers brushing against the small pendant containing a strand of her nephew's hair, a 5th birthday gift she promised to return when she visited New Horizon next spring. A visit that would never happen. "We deploy the Pathfinder *, she said firmly. One reconnaissance vessel with enhanced stealth capabilities. If this was a natural disaster, we need to understand it. If this was deliberate, she left the implications hanging in the air. The Pathfinder * is currently undergoing drive recalibration in lunar orbit, objected Orson, and Counselor Raman will never approve a military vessel, even for reconnaissance. Then we don't ask permission, Chen replied, straightening her uniform. We invoke Emergency Protocol 7. The room fell silent. EP-7 hadn't been activated since the Europa crisis 20 years earlier. It temporarily granted military command authority over civilian oversight in situations requiring immediate response to preserve human life. Commander Wei is already preparing the Pathfinder *, she continued. I gave the preliminary order 4 hours ago. They depart in 18 minutes. Across the planet, unnoticed by humanity's political and military leadership, ancient systems continued their silent awakening. In the abyssal darkness of the Mariana Trench, pressure sensors registered the movement of something impossibly large. Satellite operators dismissed the readings as equipment malfunction. Nothing that size could possibly exist 7 miles beneath the ocean's surface. In a remote Siberian monitoring station, technician Pavel Korolev stared at his seismic readings in confusion. The patterns emerging across his screen resembled no earthquake he ever studied. The epicenters formed a perfect geometric pattern across 6 continents, and the vibrations pulsed with mathematical precision. Director Kuznetsov should see this, he muttered, reaching for his communication panel. His fingers froze mid-motion as the facility's ancient backup generator activated automatically, bypassing the main power grid. Lights flickered, and deep within the permafrost beneath the station, sealed doors that had remained locked for millennia began to cycle their opening sequences. Beneath the Sahara's endless dunes, beneath layers of sandstone and buried civilizations, crystalline structures absorbed the solar energy channeled through the pyramid's precisely aligned chambers. Activation protocols initiated as external sensors confirmed the energy signatures of harvester technology. Signatures not detected on Earth since the Great Burning 10,000 years earlier. Inside a stasis chamber older than human recorded history, Enkidu's consciousness began the gradual shift toward awakening. The Guardian's enhanced neurons fired in sequence, assembling scattered memories and assessing millennia of collected data. Humanity had advanced faster than projected this cycle. The harvesters had returned earlier than calculated. The odds of survival were precisely 27.3%. Commander Wei's boots crunched over the crystallized remains of what had once been New Horizons' hydroponics garden. The reconnaissance team moved with practiced precision, their environmental suits gleaming under the harsh alien sunlight that bore down on the colony's ruins. Each breath through his respirator tasted of chemicals and death. Central Command Center ahead, Lieutenant Sato announced, her voice tight with controlled emotion. Structural integrity at 30%, but internal chambers may have survived. Wade nodded, gesturing for the team to proceed with caution. The Pathfinder hovered half a kilometer above, its advanced sensors sweeping constantly for any sign of the attacker's return. They had 22 minutes remaining before orbital alignment would force retreat. "Commander, you need to see this," called Dr. Eliza Almalade, the team's xenobiologist. She stood before a partially intact wall covered in strange markings. Not random destruction, but deliberate patterns scored into the metal with surgical precision. Wei approached, studying the intricate designs. "Analysis. It's methodical," Almalade replied, running her scanner over the markings. "These patterns appear at consistent intervals throughout the colony. I believe they're sampling patterns. They were systematically collecting data from everything they destroyed." Specialist Rivera emerged from the damaged command center, his dark eyes haunted behind his faceplate. "Sir, we've recovered partial security footage. You won't believe what we found." The recovered video played on their helmet displays, the imagery causing Wei's stomach to tighten. The aliens moved with unsettling coordination, their segmented bodies flowing like liquid metal despite their obvious exoskeletal structure. Most disturbing was their method of communication. Chromatophores rippling across their carapaces in complex patterns of blues and violets. Their catalog scanning, Almalade whispered as they watched the creatures systematically collecting samples from infrastructure, technology, and the colonists themselves. This wasn't random destruction. It was analysis. The translation algorithm finally processed their color speech, overlaying text across the horrific imagery. Genetic pattern matches previous infection cycle. Confirmation. Terra origin contamination. Purification protocols activated. Wei's blood ran cold. They knew exactly what they were looking for. The feed abruptly cut to a final scene. A harvester creature larger than the others addressing what appeared to be a communication array. Its carapace shifted through patterns so complex that the translation software struggled to keep pace. Preliminary analysis complete. Terra origin expansion exceeds predicted timelines. Primary hive notification sent. Sterilization fleet deployment recommended for all identified colonies and origination point. The video ended with the creature turning directly toward the camera, its compound eyes reflecting the terror of the person recording. Wei's team stood in stunned silence, the implications washing over them like a toxic wave. "Sir," Sato's voice broke through the team channel, urgency evident in every syllable. "The Pathfinder is detecting energy signatures matching those recorded during the New Horizon attack. They're appearing near Proxima Colony, Europa Station, and Ta City outposts simultaneously." Wei's training took over. "Extraction point now. We have what we came for." As the team raced back toward their shuttle, Wei's comm unit crackled with an incoming message from Earth. Admiral Chen's voice carried across the light years, distorted but unmistakable. "Commander, return immediately with all findings. Something is happening on Earth. Massive seismic events at multiple locations, power fluctuations across the global grid, and we've just lost contact with the Tanzania research expedition. Their last transmission mentioned finding a sealed chamber containing what appears to be a person." Wei glanced back at the ruined colony as his team boarded the shuttle. "Admiral, whatever destroyed this colony knew exactly what humanity is, and they're coming to finish what they started." Above them, the Pathfinder's sensors registered a momentary energy spike from deep beneath New Horizon's surface, a signal pulsing outward at faster-than-light speeds, its destination unknown. Dr. Amara Okafor had never imagined her life's work would culminate in this moment, standing before billions via emergency broadcast, attempting to translate the words of a being who had slept since before the pyramids were built. The Ancient One, called Enkidu, sat unnervingly still in the hastily constructed containment chamber, eyes tracking invisible data streams only he could perceive. "Ask him again about the defense protocols," General Yamamoto urged through her earpiece. The temporary command center established around the Tanzanian dig site hummed with frantic activity as military personnel attempted to understand the global transformations occurring simultaneously across 6 continents. Amara nodded, carefully forming the syllables of the proto-language she'd spent decades reconstructing from fragments. Her team had never imagined their theoretical linguistic models would be tested against a native speaker. "The awakening sequence appears incomplete," Enkidu responded, his voice resonating with harmonics that made recording equipment glitch. "Only 12 of the 73 primary guardians have reached consciousness. Defensive capability at 27%. Amara translated for the global audience, watching disbelief wash across the faces of world leaders assembled via holographic projection. Outside the secured perimeter, crowds gathered as news spread of the impossible being who claimed to be humanity's ancient protector. "Tell them about the structures," Enkidu continued, gesturing toward a holographic display showing real-time footage from Yosemite, where Half Dome had split open to reveal a vast technological complex housing weapons beyond modern understanding. Similar transformations occurred at Uluru, Mount Fuji, and dozens of other locations previously thought to be natural formations. "These are not alien technologies," Amara translated carefully. "They are human technologies created by your ancestors. We built them to ensure humanity would survive the Harvester return." On screens worldwide, footage from orbit showed the Nazca lines in Peru glowing with previously invisible energy patterns, activating a continental defense grid that had lain dormant beneath South America for millennia. Satellite imagery captured the moment when Lake Baikal's waters parted to reveal a massive launch platform rising from its depths. 7 times humanity has risen. Enkidu continued, his eyes closing momentarily as he accessed ancient memory banks. 7 times the harvesters have reduced your civilization to primitive conditions. This cycle, your technological advancement exceeded projections. The harvesters returned earlier than calculated. Admiral Chen pushed forward, her patience exhausted. "Ask him directly, can these ancient weapons defeat the harvesters? Can we save our colonies?" Before Amara could translate, Enkidu responded in perfect, unaccented English, startling everyone present. "I have assimilated your modern language patterns. And no, Admiral Chen, the active defenses alone cannot defeat the Harvester Armada approaching your world. Not at current activation levels." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's most advanced weapons have proven useless against even the Harvester's scout ships. If these ancient defenses were insufficient. However, Enkidu continued, rising from his seated position with fluid grace that belied his millennia of stasis, "There is another way. The genetic keys still exist." He turned toward the assembled leaders, his gaze settling on specific individuals in the crowd with unsettling precision. Selected bloodlines carry activation markers, deliberately preserved genetic sequences passed down through generations. Your ancestors may not have remembered their purpose, but they followed the biological imperative to maintain these lineages. Enkidu raised his hand, palm displaying shifting bioluminescent patterns that matched symbols now appearing at ancient sites worldwide. "Some among you can fully activate what remains dormant. Some among you carry the capacity for integration." As if in response to his words, the ground beneath the Tanzanian facility trembled. Monitors showed similar seismic activity at each awakened Guardian site globally. Somewhere beneath the Pacific Ocean, the largest Guardian facility had begun its activation sequence, sending tsunamis racing toward coastlines as ancient machinery reconfigured the ocean floor. "The harvesters remember us," Enkidu said, eyes reflecting data from systems humans couldn't perceive. "And they fear what humanity may become again." Admiral Chen stood transfixed as Gibraltar's ancient rock face rippled like liquid, reconfiguring into geometric patterns that defied conventional engineering. the massive limestone monolith, a landmark she had visited as a child, transformed before her eyes into an integrated weapons platform bristling with technologies no human scientist could identify. The outer shell maintained natural appearance to avoid detection, explained Inanna, the guardian assigned to European Command. Unlike Enkidu's measured calm, Inanna radiated barely contained energy, her movements precise and predatory. Dormancy protocols included controlled erosion patterns to maintain the illusion of natural geology. Chen nodded, struggling to process the scale of deception. How many Earth landmarks were actually camouflaged weapons? How much of human history had been shaped by these sleeping guardians? The Harvesters have breached Mars' orbital defenses, reported Commander Wei through the quantum-encrypted channel. Holographic displays showed the devastating efficiency of the alien advance. Phobos station has gone dark. Chen turned to Inanna. You said the Guardians built countermeasures. If Gibraltar houses weapons, what does Mars have? A tight smile crossed Inanna's face. Observe. On the tactical display, Mars grew larger as orbital cameras focused on Olympus Mons. For a breathtaking moment, nothing happened. Then, like a flower blooming in fast motion, the largest volcano in the solar system began to transform. Its caldera split into geometric segments that rotated and realigned, revealing a massive energy weapon that had masqueraded as a natural formation for millennia. Olympus was never a volcano, whispered Chen. It was, and it wasn't, replied Inanna. Form follows function. The thermal venting requirements of the antimatter cannon created volcanic activity as a side effect. The weapon fired, a blindingly bright beam that cut through space, vaporizing the advancing Harvester scout ships instantly. The tactical officers in Gibraltar's command center erupted in cheers, but Inanna's expression remained grim. That was a defensive pulse at 17% capacity, she explained. The full activation requires a genetic key we have not yet located, and the energy signature has now revealed our capabilities to the main Harvester fleet. On cue, the long-range sensors displayed a new alert. Hundreds of larger ships altering course, accelerating toward Earth. How many of these facilities exist? Chen asked. 43 major weapon platforms, 97 defensive installations, and 12 primary Guardian complexes, Inanna recited. Currently operating at an average of 38% capacity due to power crystallization decay during dormancy. The data displays around them shifted, showing readiness statistics for sites worldwide. Chen recognized transformed landmarks on every continent. Table Mountain, Kilimanjaro, the Grand Canyon, all revealed as ancient technology disguised as natural formations. And these bloodlines Enkidu mentioned. Chen pressed. The genetic keys. Inanna's eyes flashed with bioluminescent patterns as she accessed internal databases. We preserve specific genetic markers through subtle influence over human development. Selected bloodlines carry activation permissions for different systems. The Guardian approached a holographic display, her fingers dancing through data streams until faces began appearing. Hundreds of humans from across the globe, ranging from world leaders to ordinary citizens. These individuals possessed the necessary markers, she explained, but most would require training to interface properly. The Harvesters will arrive in 73 hours. We lack sufficient time. Chen studied the faces, recognizing political figures, scientists, even children. Her breath caught as her sister Maya's image appeared among them. My sister is on Nueva Esperanza colony, she said quietly. If she survived the attack, then she is essential, Inanna finished. The Chen bloodline carries primary access codes for Pacific Basin defensive grids, the largest weapons network we constructed. A proximity alarm sounded as a Harvester probe penetrated Earth's outer sensor perimeter. Inanna's skin briefly rippled with integrated technology, normally hidden beneath her human appearance. We need those genetic keys, Admiral, she said, eyes fixed on the approaching threat. Or this cycle of humanity may be the last. The rescue shuttle pierced Nueva Esperanza's toxic atmosphere, its advanced stealth systems barely masking their approach from the harvester biosensors that swarmed the colony ruins like metallic insects. Commander Wei studied the tactical display, mapping their descent path to the mining tunnels where survivors had been detected. Harvester activity concentrated at primary genetic research facility, observed Enkidu from the co-pilot's seat, his eyes reflecting data streams from the shuttle sensors. They continue sampling patterns consistent with previous extinction cycles. Beside him, Inanna monitored her own displays, her fingers moving with inhuman precision across the control interfaces. Landing zone compromised. Adjusting approach vector. Wei nodded, trusting the Guardian's enhanced reflexes as the shuttle banked sharply, narrowly avoiding a patrol of harvester scout vessels. Their mission parameters were clear but nearly impossible. Extract any survivors, prioritizing Dr. Maya Chen, whose genetic signature could activate the Pacific defensive grid. Approaching Emergency Access Shaft 7, Wei announced to the extraction team. 6 Special Forces operatives who had volunteered despite knowing the survival odds. Prepare for hot insertion. The shuttle settled into a narrow ravine, partially concealed by crystallized vegetation. As the team disembarked, Wei caught his first unfiltered glimpse of the harvester's handiwork. The once thriving agricultural colony had been methodically disassembled, its components sorted into precise geometric patterns across the landscape. Nothing was destroyed without purpose. Everything was studied, catalogued, and arranged with unsettling precision. Analysis protocol unchanged in 7 cycles, Enkidu commented, reading Wei's expression. They seek to understand what they fear. The team moved swiftly through maintenance tunnels that had survived the initial attack, following life sign readings that pulsed weakly on their trackers. When they reached a reinforced blast door bearing the colony's emergency markings, Inanna stepped forward, placing her palm against the security scanner. Her systems are compatible with yours. Wei asked Enkidu as the door responded to Inanna's touch. We designed your systems, the Guardian replied simply. The door slid open, revealing dozens of colonists huddled in a makeshift medical bay, converted from mining equipment storage. Many were injured, their faces gaunt from weeks surviving on emergency rations. At the center of the group stood a woman Wei recognized immediately from Admiral Chen's personal files. Dr. Maya Chen, her resemblance to the Admiral unmistakable despite her disheveled appearance. Commander Wei, she acknowledged, her voice steady despite her obvious exhaustion. Confederation finally decided we were worth saving. Before Wei could respond, Inanna moved forward, her eyes scanning Maya with undisguised interest. The genetic markers are intact. Pacific Basin activation remains possible. Maya's expression shifted from wariness to understanding. So that's why you came. The Guardians have awakened. Wei blinked in surprise. You know about them. I've been analyzing harvester communication patterns, Maya explained, gesturing toward makeshift equipment assembled from colony technology. They refer repeatedly to sleepers and architects when discussing Earth, and they're terrified of something they call the integration. She turned toward Enkidu and Inanna. They're not just killing us. They're studying us, looking for specific genetic markers. They harvest brain tissue, examining neural patterns for signs of something they fear we might become. Enkidu nodded solemnly. The final Guardian protocol. Complete human technology integration. A distant explosion rocked the tunnel complex, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Wei's tactical display flashed urgent warnings, harvester forces converging on their position with unnatural speed. They've detected the Guardians, Inanna stated, her body tensing as external sensors reported overwhelming enemy numbers. Extraction window closing. Get these people to the shuttle. Wei ordered his team, already calculating survival probabilities that grew slimmer by the second. Not all will fit, Enkidu observed dispassionately. Maya stepped forward, clutching a data crystal containing her research. I know what the harvesters want. What they fear. This information must reach Earth. Inanna's skin began to ripple, the human disguise thinning as her true nature emerged beneath. A seamless integration of biological and technological systems far beyond current human understanding. "Get them to the shuttle," she commanded, her voice resonating with harmonic overtones as weapon systems deployed from her transforming limbs. "I will ensure you have time." The skies above London darkened as Harvester bioships descended through the atmosphere, their chitinous hulls reflecting the city's emergency lights in nauseating patterns. Admiral Chen monitored the global defense network from the Lunar Command Center, watching as ancient weapons emerged from mountains, oceans, and deserts across Earth's surface. "Gibraltar platform engaging," reported a tactical officer, voice steady despite the apocalyptic scenes playing out on the monitors. The transformed rock formation unleashed a barrage of energy that shredded 3 Harvester capital ships before they could deploy ground forces. "Paris has fallen," came another report. Guardian facility in the catacombs activated but functioning at minimal capacity. Chen turned to Dr. Maya, who stood before a crystalline interface unlike anything in modern human technology. The scientists had been extracted from Nueva Esperanza just hours before the main Harvester fleet arrived, and now humanity's fate rested partly on her genetic access to the Pacific defense grid. "The integration is proceeding," Maya reported, her voice strained as bioluminescent patterns crawled beneath her skin, the visible sign of her connecting with Guardian technology. "But the systems require deeper access than I can provide." Across the command center, Enkidu monitored global defense operations, his movements becoming increasingly agitated as reports of devastation continued. "Antarctic facility remains dormant," he stated. "Without Gilgamesh, we cannot activate the dimensional defense." On the tactical display, Earth resembled a planet under siege from biblical plagues. Harvester ships disgorged ground troops in major population centers, while defensive fire from Guardian facilities created brief constellations of destruction in the skies. The ancient weapons were formidable, but without full activation, they merely slowed the inevitable. "The Sahara facility is reporting unexpected developments," called the communications officer. "Dr. Okafor requests immediate conference." A holographic display shifted to show the archaeologist's face, her expression a mixture of awe and urgency. Behind her, ordinary humans worked alongside Guardian technology, their hands glowing with the same bioluminescent patterns visible on Maya's skin. "Admiral, we're seeing spontaneous integration among civilians with compatible genetics," Okafor reported. "People are interfacing with the Guardian systems instinctively, without training." Chen exchanged glances with Enkidu, whose expression betrayed rare surprise. "Impossible," the Guardian stated. "Integration requires conditioning from early development." "Unless," Maya interjected, her eyes widening with sudden understanding. "Unless the Guardians have been subtly influencing human evolution for thousands of years." "Enkidu, did you distribute integration markers throughout the general population?" The ancient being's silence was answer enough. "We're seeing it worldwide," Okafor continued. "Ordinary people approaching Guardian technology and interfacing successfully. A teenager in Kenya activated a defense node that eliminated a Harvester landing force. A grandmother in Peru interfaced with Nazca grid controls." On the tactical displays, the pattern became clear. Around each Guardian facility, humans with no previous knowledge of the technology were stepping forward, their genetic heritage manifesting in abilities that had lain dormant for generations. "It was a contingency," Enkidu finally admitted. "We could not predict which bloodlines would survive the millennia. So we distributed diluted capacities widely, hoping enough would remain when needed." A proximity alert blared as sensors detected Harvester forces approaching the Sahara facility in overwhelming numbers. The tactical display showed a massive Harvester command ship descending directly toward the ancient structure, its energy signature dwarfing anything previously encountered. "They're targeting Enkidu's primary facility," Chen realized. "They know he's there." Through the holographic link, They watched Enkidu stride from the command center toward the surface, his human appearance dissolving to reveal his true integrated form. The Guardian faced the incoming Harvester forces alone, his voice transmitting clearly despite the chaos. "They recognize me," he confirmed. "Their programming prioritizes Guardian elimination above all else. Their creators feared what we represent." "What do you represent?" Chen demanded. Enkidu's response came as the first Harvester weapons targeted his position. "The next step in human evolution. What you were always meant to become." The Antarctic wind howled across the exposed ice shelf as the expedition team followed Enkidu's precise directions. Dr. Okafor pulled her thermal gear tighter, watching her breath crystallize in the sub-zero air. Behind her, Commander Wei and a team of partially integrated humans created a defensive perimeter, their enhanced senses scanning constantly for Harvester pursuit. "The entrance should be directly beneath us," Dr. Maya Chen reported, studying readings from equipment that merged Guardian technology with human design. The integration process had accelerated within her, bioluminescent patterns now permanently visible beneath her skin, flowing like liquid circuitry through her nervous system. Enkidu placed his palm against the ice, sending energy pulses deep into the glacier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ice beneath them began to shift, geometric patterns emerging as though carved by invisible hands. A perfect circle 30 meters across separated from the surrounding surface, descending smoothly to reveal a crystalline shaft extending into darkness. "The primary vault," Enkidu explained as they entered the ancient elevator. Constructed before the first Harvester cycle, when humanity's integration had reached its apex. The platform descended with impossible smoothness, passing through layers of ice formed over millennia. As they dropped deeper, the shaft walls transitioned from ice to something else, a material with the transparency of glass, but the structural perfection of diamond, etched with symbols no modern human could read. "This facility predates all others," Enkidu continued. "While we slept in stasis, Gilgamesh remained in isolation, his consciousness the anchor for all Guardian systems. The elevator finally opened into a vast cavern that defied comprehension. A city-sized structure of impossible architecture hung suspended in the center of the space, neither touching floor nor ceiling, its geometries shifting subtly as though breathing. Bridges of pure energy extended from the platform, connecting to the central structure. "Who built this?" Wei asked, his tactical assessment faltering before the sight. "We did," Enkidu replied simply. "Humans, at the height of our first civilization, before the Harvesters came." The team moved across the energy bridge toward the central structure, its surface responding to their approach by creating an entrance formed of overlapping geometric segments. Within, they found chambers filled with technology so advanced it appeared magical, fields of suspended information, machines that seemed partially alive, energy systems with no visible components. At the heart of it all stood a single stasis pod unlike any they had seen before. Where the Guardians' pods had been designed for hibernation, this chamber appeared designed for containment, its surface covered with warning symbols and security measures. "Gilgamesh," whispered Enkidu, approaching the chamber with reverence. "The first to achieve complete integration. The architect of our survival." Dr. Okafor studied the symbols around the chamber. "These are warning markers. He wasn't just preserved, he was contained. His integration exceeded safety parameters," Enkidu acknowledged. His consciousness expanded beyond individual limitation. The containment was, by his request. Above them, the facility's sensors registered multiple warnings. On Commander Wei's tactical display, dozens of Harvester ships converged on their location, their weapons already beginning atmospheric entry burns. "They found us," Wei stated grimly. "Estimated arrival, 12 minutes. Maya placed her hand against the stasis chamber, her newly enhanced senses interfacing with its security protocols. "There's something different about this Guardian. His pattern is vast, exponentially more complex than yours, Enkidu." "He was the first," Enkidu replied. and the last. The only one to achieve total integration before the dimensional device was completed. The facility trembled as the first harvester weapons struck the ice shelf above. Defense systems activated automatically, but the tactical display showed overwhelming enemy numbers. "We need him now," we insisted. Enkidu's expression revealed rare uncertainty. Once awakened, he cannot be contained again. His consciousness will affect all it touches. The facility shuddered again as more harvester weapons found their mark. Maya looked from the stasis chamber to the tactical display, showing Earth's defenses failing worldwide, then made her decision. Her integrated systems interfaced directly with the chamber's controls, bypassing security protocols that had held for millennia. "Humanity has nothing left to lose," she said as the chamber began its awakening sequence, "and everything to gain." Admiral Chen watched from Lunar Command as the impossible unfolded across Earth's surface. The dimensional cascade initiated by Gilgamesh's sacrifice rippled outward in precisely calculated patterns, selectively erasing harvester ships from existence while leaving human structures intact. The aliens simply vanished without explosion or debris, their matter converted to energy and redirected through dimensional gateways Gilgamesh had opened with his consciousness. "The pattern is holding," reported the sensor officer, voiced hushed with awe. 97% of harvester forces eliminated in the first wave. Chen studied the tactical display where thousands of enemy signatures blinked out of existence with each passing second. Only 6 hours earlier, humanity had faced extinction. Now victory seemed not merely possible but inevitable. Gilgamesh's consciousness is maintaining the selective targeting parameters, explained one of the remaining guardians, a being called Ninsen who had interfaced with lunar command systems. His sacrifice was not death but transcendence. He has become the weapon itself. On the primary display, a live feed from Antarctica showed the aftermath of Gilgamesh's transformation. The ancient structure had reconfigured itself into a pulsing energy nexus, with Dr. Maya Chen and the expedition team monitoring readings unlike anything recorded in modern science. "The dimensional cascade will complete in approximately 43 minutes, Maya reported, her partially integrated systems allowing direct interface with the ancient technology. "Gilgamesh has isolated the harvester homeworld and severed their interstellar network. This extinction cycle has been terminated. Around the world, humans emerged from shelters to witness the strange beauty of the dimensional event, the sky rippling with geometric patterns of light as the last harvester ships vanished. In cities damaged by the invasion, Guardian facilities began deploying reconstruction technologies that assembled materials at the molecular level, rebuilding structures faster than seemed possible. What happens now? Chen asked the Guardian Ninsen. When the harvesters are gone. Integration continues, the Guardian replied simply. As it was always meant to. 6 months later, Commander Wei stood on the observation deck of the reclamation vessel Phoenix as it approached the ruins of New Horizon Colony. The ship, a hybrid of human and Guardian technology, carried terraforming equipment capable of restoring the damaged planetary environment within weeks rather than generations. Preliminary scans show no harvester activity, reported a young lieutenant whose skin displayed the now familiar patterns of partial integration. The dimensional cascade was thorough. Wei nodded, studying the colony through new eyes. His own integration had advanced during reconstruction efforts on Earth. The neural enhancements allowed him to perceive energy patterns and structural weaknesses invisible to unmodified humans. Begin deployment of restoration drones, he ordered. Priority on environmental stabilization, then infrastructure. In the Antarctic facility, now transformed into humanity's unified governmental center, Dr. Okafor guided a group of students through the newly established Remembrance Institute. Children from every nation walked wide-eyed through holographic displays showing Earth's true history. 7 cycles of civilization, each reaching for the stars before harvester intervention drove them back to primitive conditions. This time, we remember, Okafor told them, her own partial integration allowing her to interface directly with the historical archives. This time, We continue what our ancestors began. Admiral Chen stood in her office, reviewing reports from the colony restoration projects when the communication system chimed with an unexpected alert. The Deep Space Monitoring Network had detected an approaching signal, not harvester in origin, but clearly artificial and directed specifically toward Earth. Translation complete announced the AI interface that incorporated fragments of Gilgamesh's consciousness donated before his transcendence. Message reads, "To the architects who have returned, the children of the forgotten wish to speak with the elder race once more." Chen studied the signal's origin, a star system 40 light-years distant where no human had ever traveled, or so modern humans had believed. "They remember us," she whispered, understanding dawning. "They've been waiting." Outside her window, Earth gleamed in lunar orbit, its continents showing the geometric patterns of guardian structures now fully integrated with human civilization. Ancient and modern technologies merged seamlessly as humanity embraced its forgotten heritage. Children born after the invasion developed integration patterns naturally. Their neural structures adapted to interface with both technologies and each other. Humanity's long-interrupted evolution had finally resumed its intended course.